The Garden Grove City Council meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Councilmember Broadwater,
Here.
Councilmember Doe, Councilmember Wynn,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Jones,
Here.
Mayor Dalton.
Here. Okay, we'll have the invocation by Keith Jones, Public Works Director, and the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilwoman Wynn. Okay, now that we have less music, I think we have some presentation.
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor, and I'd like Keith Jones to make this presentation this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Fertel. Tonight, the Garden Grove City Council is proud to recognize 4 future community leaders from the Boys and Girls Club of Garden Grove who have recently been presented with the illustrious Youth of the Year Award. 62 years ago, the Boys and Girls Club of America began the Youth of the Year program to honor youth excellence at its clubs. Each honoree has shown leadership qualities such as community service, enthusiasm, and pride in their clubs. In Garden Grove, 4 individuals were honored at this year's Youth of the Year banquet hosted by the Evening Kiwanis Club of Garden Grove. The 2009 recipients are Spencer Vuraliai, Rena Lace, Anthony Castaneda, and Alma Salazar. Will the Youth of the Year recipients please come forward? We'll begin with Spencer Vuraliai. Spencer is a 6th grade student at Patton Kids Club. He is well known for helping out at his school and club. As a leader in both the Youth for the Unity Club and Torch Club, his volunteer work includes recycling and visiting a local senior center. The staff describes Spencer as outgoing and respectful and always willing to help others. This 7-year member has been awarded one of the club's highest honors by being named Member of the Month. For Spencer, family is important. He sees his mother as his role model, teaching him about honesty and right from wrong. He plans to go to college and be a great example to his little brother. The city compliments Spencer on exemplifying strong leadership in his community and to his peers. The next Youth of the Year recipient is Rena Lace. As president of the Torch Club at the Irvine Intermediate site, Rena exemplifies leadership. She has organized a canned food drive and a 5-on-5 basketball tournament. Staff members say she has a good attitude, is outgoing, and motivates her teammates as captain of the football team. Rena carries a 4.0 GPA and is vice president of the ASB Club. She assisted in the Positive Change Week, in which students donated money to send 2 students to camp. In addition, Rena volunteered at Salgado Center as a homework tutor. She has always looked up to one person, her mother. Her mother's kind heart and selfless efforts are an inspiration to her. The city congratulates Rena on being a young pilot for change in her school and community. The next Youth of the Year honoree is Anthony Castaneda. At the Doig Intermediate site, Anthony offers great ideas as part of the Leadership Club, which coordinates activities for club members, including dances and family night. A talented athlete, Anthony traveled to Baltimore, Maryland last year with the club's RBI baseball team and earned an award for Best Outfielder. The staff has been impressed by Anthony's quiet dignity and good values. He conducts informal orientation for new members, is responsible for taking care of his younger sister, and shows the utmost respect towards his parents, staff, and peers. Anthony is described as a kid that never let circumstances beat him. This may be attributed to his father, his advisor, and hero. The City of Garden Grove applauds Anthony for his worthy accomplishments on and off the field. The final Youth of the Year recipient is Alma Salazar. Education is very important to Alma. She is a fixture during Power Hour, a national recognized club program designed to raise the academic proficiency in members ages 6 to 12. She does her best to inspire younger kids to reach their goals. The Santiago High School senior carries a 3.5 GPA and a course load that includes 4 advanced placement classes. She has already been accepted to a number of local colleges. Alma is the vice president of the Keystone Club and participates in the Avid and Career Explorers programs at school. She is a great role model as well as a tutor at Walton Intermediate. Alma's parents came from humble beginnings but have worked hard to succeed. They are one of the biggest inspirations to Alma and her siblings. She looks forward to the day her family will come together to celebrate her graduation. The city congratulates Alma for promoting and encouraging the spirit of education in youth. Spencer, Rena, Anthony, and Alma represent a new generation of youth helping others to succeed. Their families, as well as the Boys and Girls Club, have contributed to the development of their leadership skills. At this time, the Mayor and City Council would like to present each honoree with a certificate and memento in recognition of their influential roles in the community and at their clubs. The city proudly recognizes them as today's role models and tomorrow's history makers.
Okay, you can start shaking hands down here. When you get to me, I have the goodies.
If you'd like to take
Keep up the good work, okay? If you turn around here, we can have a picture taken, and then if you'd like to say a few words, we'd be happy to listen. Why don't you move this way? I want to make it a little easier. Is it okay? Yeah. Thank you. Would you or all of you or one of you, if you'd like to speak, there's a microphone right there.
I'll start.
Okay.
I would like to thank the City Council for this award and recognition. I really appreciate it. Boys and Girls Club has really been helpful, and I would like to thank the City Council for all of their support, because I've heard that a lot comes out of you guys, so thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank the City Council for this award and the Boys and Girls Club for recognizing me. And that's it.
Thank you.
I would like to thank the City Council for giving me the honor of receiving such a prestigious award. This is going to be an experience I will remember forever. I am going to devote myself into helping this community throughout my lifetime. And I would just like to say thank you to all of you guys.
Thank you.
I'd like to say thank you to the City Council for giving me this award and honoring me in this experience. And I'd also like to say thank you, Boys and Girls Club, for helping me all this time.
Okay, next we have another presentation.
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor, and Niall Barrett from OCTA would like to present the progress of the West Orange County Connection Project on the I-405.
Good evening. Get this right. Good evening, Mayor Dalton, council members. My name is Niall Barrett. I'm the project manager for the West County Connectors Project. I'm going to give a short presentation on the West County Connectors Project, and after me, my fellow worker Rose Casey will also give a short presentation on the I-405 Improvement Project. Okay, the West County Connectors Project, essentially we have the 22-405 I-605 corridor. In August 2003, the environmental document was approved basically to improve the safety, mobility, and traffic times on the 405, on the 22 corridor. And the first portion of that project was the phase 1 of the 22 project, the design build project. Anyone who travels the 22, I'm sure we all do, hopefully you've seen the improvements and the improved traffic speeds on the 22. The second phase of that project, which is now completing design, is the I-405 and the I-605 corridor. And essentially what that project will do is install carpool lanes, which will basically connect the carpool lanes that were constructed on the 22 phase 1 project. And it will connect those from the 22 onto the 405, and from the 405 up onto the 605, which is what you see here in red up on this board. Let me just go briefly through the overall project schedule, which shows again that the environmental document was cleared in August 2003. OCTA and our consultants began final design in October 2007. We're finalizing design at the moment, and we plan to begin construction in January 2010, next year. Construction for the project, and there are two halves to the project. Construction of each half will last approximately 42 months. As I said, the West County Connectors project has been separated into two segments. We have the west segment shown in blue, and that's the 22-405 segment, and then that was the easterly segment. The western segment is the 405-605 segment. The next slide shows an aerial looking down the 405 freeway, and on the left-hand side you can see the 22 freeway. And what this slide tries to do is show where this new carpool lane will be placed, which is essentially down the middle of the freeway and connecting to the carpool lanes that are already on the 405. Now, I should point out, today you have 2 carpool lanes on the 405. When we're done, there will be 4 carpool lanes on the 405. So those additional 2 carpool lanes will have come off the 22 and then head on up the 605, which is shown in the next picture. Hopefully you can get the graphical representation that shows the new HOV connector bridge that will take these 2 additional carpool lanes up over the intersection of the 405 and the 605 and up onto the 605 freeway. The next slide just shows the same as the last slide, but from a different direction. Basically, it's southwest looking northeast, and you can see again in yellow the graphical representation of the new bridge, which will basically be the carpool lane or the HOV connector. In order to construct these HOV connectors, we have to do a lot of other construction. We have to widen the freeway to some extent. Also, we have to reconstruct a lot of the bridges that currently cross over the freeway in order to get these 2 extra HOV lanes in. One of the bridges that will need to be reconstructed is the 7th Street Bridge, which is also the northbound 405 westbound 22 connector. The next picture shows the current structure limits and basically which prohibits us from widening the freeway. And so basically we'll remove the 7th Street off-ramp bridge and replace it with a bridge which is longer and can enable us to construct our HOV lanes. So you can see here an after of what the new bridge will look like. And the next slide shows an after. It's like a kind of a 3D look as to what this bridge will look like when we're done. So it'll basically be a longer bridge to enable us to construct our HOV lanes. Closer to this end of the project, and I'm moving on fairly quickly, so let me know if I'm going too fast. Closer to this end, we have the Valley View Street Bridge reconstruction. And the next slide shows essentially because of the existing Valley View Street Bridge, we're fortunate that we can construct this bridge in 2 stages. So we don't have to close this bridge in the same way as we would have to close the 7th Street off-ramp. And essentially we cut the bridge down the middle and reconstruct first the eastern segment of the bridge. So we we shift traffic onto the western half of the bridge, demolish the eastern half of the bridge, reconstruct the eastern half of the bridge. And that's stage 1. Looking at stage 2, we then shift traffic onto the newly constructed eastern half of the bridge, demolish the western half of the bridge, reconstruct the western half of the bridge, and then essentially join the two bridge halves together to have one overall bridge, which is the final construction sequence slide that you see here. As I've already said on the closures for the next slide, the 7th Street Bridge will be closed. Also, the eastbound 22 northbound 405 bridge will be closed. As you can see, the 7th Street Bridge will be closed for 10 months, and the 22 northbound 405 bridge will be closed for 10 months. That doesn't carry as much traffic because it's a lot of traffic that's coming out of Long Beach heading up the 405, and so a lot of traffic coming out of Long Beach will take other surface streets to get up onto the 405 northbound. And then other smaller closures insofar as duration, the southbound 605 to the southbound 405 and the eastbound 22 to the southbound 405. Moving on, this next slide shows a graphical representation of the overall construction sequencing. I won't go into too much detail as to everything on this, but essentially what it shows is, and I think one of the biggest things we want to highlight, is the Valley View Street Bridge, which is being constructed in two halves. Each half will take approximately 10 months to construct, and each half follows the other. Once that bridge is constructed, we can then begin construction of the 405-22 HOV connector bridge. Also, it's important to point out that the Seal Beach Boulevard Bridge, which also needs to be replaced to accommodate our new HOV lanes, will not be worked on until after the Valley View Street Bridge is complete. We realize the importance of these two bridges and keeping one of the bridges in full operation during construction from a traffic point of view. Other bridges that need to be reconstructed are the South 405 East 22 connector bridge, which will also be rebuilt again to provide additional space for us to construct our HOV connector lanes. On the next slide, it shows a detour and alternate routes. What this slide shows is all of the detour routes, so this shows everything over the whole life of the project, and what we're trying to do is to show the area that we're working on, and we're working with all of the cities that are affected to give different detour routes to everybody, all of the traffic that's out there. So at any specific time, there may only be a certain portion of these detour routes in operation. So this shows an overall, not what may happen at any specific time. The next slide shows the Egret Takes Flight project aesthetics, and these HOV bridges are long, and the ramps to get up onto the bridge are constructed by these retaining walls, and on the side of the retaining walls at this end of the project for the 22-405 bridge, where we hope to capture the essence of the Bolsa Chica channel for the Egret Takes Flight motif that we have on here. On the next slide, then at the 605 end of the project, we have a different motif, which is a seals and seaweed, in keeping with the Seal Beach and the Naval Weapons Station down there. We've done extensive community relations outreach, and we continue to do so. Apart from these city council briefings that we give, we also have open houses and various neighborhood meetings. We have a website which provides regular updates as to the status of design and construction. We have email blasts, as we call them, that people can sign up for. to get updated emails and other media relations. And for a lot of this media outreach, we have our Christina Byrne to thank, as she is the OCTA Community Relations person. And the last slide here shows her phone number, email address, and the address for the web page that I mentioned earlier. That's it for my half. If anybody has any questions, certainly feel free to.
Go ahead. Any questions from? Okay, it's a quick overview. Go ahead, Dina.
I wanted to know if any of the residents' property rights will be affected by the construction.
We've tried to minimize any impacts to the homeowners, and at this end, no. Essentially, at the other end, we've got maybe one or two temporary construction easements, but we're not taking any land takes as such. So we may need to get in to do some work to construct sound walls, but we're not taking any parcels of land from any homeowners.
That's good. My next question is this project fully funded by Measure M?
No, it is not. It's funded by state and federal funding, CMAQ and CMIA funding.
Thank you.
Okay, any
Thank
other
you.
questions? Well, this construction, at point, it's going to be 24-hour day construction, correct?
Not really. It'll be mostly daytime. There might be some
What hours? then,
nighttime.
Primarily, what hours?
I would say 8 till 5, 6 p.m. usually, unless we have to do some closures to remove some bridges, for example. There might be some nighttime work. But by and large, it's daytime work.
Okay. Thank you. And I would like to thank Christina because she was heavily involved in the 22 freeway widening and put out a lot of fires for us and was always there, met with anybody that wanted to meet, whether it was one-on-one or it was large groups. And so I do thank you, and I thank OCTA for that.
Okay, thank you. And now it's Rose Casey.
Okay.
Good evening. Mayor Dalton, Mayor Pro Tem Jones, council members, my name is Rose Casey. I'm a program manager for the OCTA and Highway Project Delivery. Here to share with you some information about the 405 improvement project that we have, that we're about to get underway with the environmental phase. The project location you see there covers the stretch of the 405 corridor from the 73, State Route 73 at the south end to the 605 on the north end. It's approximately 14 miles in length. I think we're all well aware of the congestion that we face on the 405. These are just some statistics of the current volume that uses of traffic that uses the 405 every day, 300,000 vehicles per day. Actually, in the stretch that Niall just talked about between the 22 and the 605, it's actually 415,000 vehicles a day. It's the highest volume of traffic in the world. So we have projected growth. We have projected increase in traffic by 2025. So we're really excited to move forward with some improvements. Just to step back a little bit, back to history on the 405 project. In 2005, we concluded a major investment study, which is a planning level study. Your city staff was involved, and there was a lot of discussion. In October 2005, the OCTA board approved the locally preferred strategy, or the minimal widening alternative. In 2006, the Orange County voters approved the renewed Measure M, which identified the 405 as one of the critical projects to proceed forward with as far as adding capacity or adding lanes. We then undertook a project study report, which is a conceptual engineering document to look at two alternatives, one basically to add one lane in each direction, the other to add 2 lanes in each direction. And now we're about to begin the environmental phase. The project alternatives are described there on your screen, and I think what would maybe make it a little easier is to refer next to the graphic. The existing cross-section, or the number of lanes on the 405, is shown at the top, and so currently we have 4 general-purpose lanes and 1 carpool lane in each direction. Alternative 1, which carries forward from the MIS and the PSR, is to add 1 additional general-purpose lane in each direction. And also auxiliary lanes where we can, which facilitates weaving of traffic between on and off ramps. Alternative 2 would add 2 general purpose lanes in each direction. Alternative 3, well, let me preface the final 2 alternatives. We have a funding shortfall that we're facing. We have $500 million in renewed Measure M funding that's been allocated for this project. The cost estimates from the project study report range from 1.2 to 1.7 billion. So we looked at ways to potentially generate revenue or build improvements that would meet the currently available funding. So alternative 3 is what we're calling the hot lane alternative, or the high occupancy toll lane alternative. What that would do is add one general purpose lane in each direction, but then also add one high occupancy toll lane in each direction. And so the current carpool lane would be designated as a HOT lane for a combination of 2 HOT lanes in each direction, along with a brand new additional general purpose lane. And finally, the alternative 4 is the one that would deliver improvements for the currently available funding of around $500 million. This shows the current project schedule of the environmental phase. What to highlight here is that we do intend to hold public scoping meetings later this year, and we will continue to have the policy working group meetings at key points in the process, at key decision points, to make sure that you're completely up to speed with how the project is progressing. The total project environmental phase will take 3 years. It is an environmental impact report, environmental impact statement, as far as meeting CEQA and NEPA requirements, but we will have extensive community outreach all the way through, which on this slide, just to highlight a few key activities, we will continue to conduct city council briefings as we progress, establish a project hotline and website and have that updated with information. We will also launch an e-newsletter, and we will reconvene the stakeholders working group, which was held back in the MIS stage. It'll be comprised of key stakeholder representatives along the corridor, business, homeowners, and other groups, chambers of commerce. The next policy working group meeting is actually next Wednesday at OCTA at 9 a.m., and we look forward to your participation, Mayor Pro Tem Jones, as we discuss how we're going to proceed with the project. Scoping meetings are very general in nature. They basically will talk about the alternatives at a very general level, and then listen to input and ideas from the community. And so it'll be an opportunity for the public to ask questions, to express issues or support for the project, but we won't have detailed design available. We do have 4 scoping meeting locations identified to ensure that there's availability of meeting locations throughout the corridor, and so you see those there. And Christina, again, is our community outreach officer on this project as well. And so at this point, I'll take any questions you have.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll now open oral communications for the Council, Agency, and Sanitary District. Rod Powell.
Hi, my name is Rod Powell, and good evening. I'm going to read just a little bit of this tonight. I'm not going to read so much. It won't be too much for you to take in. I appreciate that you pay attention every time, Mayor Dalton, and I mean that. Not being facetious in any way at all. I do appreciate that. Permit process. According to municipal ordinances, only a nonprofit organization may sell legal fireworks from a code-approved fireworks booth. I am going to say this is from the Anatomy of Safe and Sane Fireworks in Orange County. City requirements for fireworks sale permits vary slightly from city to city, but each applicant generally has to comply with the same basic requirements. The nonprofit organization must, 1, it's got to obtain designation as a certified legal nonprofit from the state of California. 2, pay a city permit fee and a sales booth inspection fee for building and safety and state fire marshal compliance. 3, pay an additional annual state fire marshal fee. 4, show proof of insurance for various amounts of coverage in case of property damage or injury in the vicinity of the sales booth. 5, obtain a sales site, usually in a strip mall or other commercial location. 6, take delivery of the sales booth. 7, attend a meeting with city officials to learn of any annual municipal code updates or city council policy changes relating to the sale of legal fireworks. Lost my count on the numbers. Next, obtain a seller's permit from the State of California Board of Equalization for required sales tax collection. And last one, take delivery of the product, supply a sales staff to sell the product, and determine the price they will charge for the product. In reality, a nonprofit organization, though corporately responsible for compliance with all of the previously stated mandates, does little to meet these requirements independently and uses none of its finances upfront to pay for fees, services, and products, with the exception of supplying the sales staff, attending a mandatory meeting, and agreeing on a recommended sales price. All of the other requirements are satisfied as a fee for service by the fireworks wholesalers. I'm going to stop with that as far as reading from this tonight, but I don't know if you noticed on that, the bottom line is that the fireworks companies do everything for these nonprofits. I'm going to read a little bit of this because sometimes I don't get everything I want to say out, and I'm not really concerned if I hurt anyone's feelings. The Garden Grove Council has throughout the years shown disregard to 2 grand juries, the one in '88 and '89 and the one for this report. They've shown disrespect for the Garden Grove Police and fire departments. I'll repeat that. They've shown disrespect for the Garden Grove Police and fire departments. They've shown disrespect for concerned pet owners. They've shown disrespect for a large number of senior citizens. And they've shown disrespect for all Garden Grove residents who do respect a grand jury recommendation and would like to think that their city council gives it a little bit more respect than has been given. Mark Rosen, on May 27th of '08, I heard this for the first time today when I was on the internet, called this report biased. Steve Jones on that night called it ridiculously biased. I don't know if you remember that, Steve. Mm-hmm. He also used the word fuzzy logic. Mm-hmm. I looked that up on the website, the Web Computer Dictionary. I don't know if that applies. And then Bruce Broadwater last week indicated, I think you were talking about what I was saying, that maybe it's my style of reading it, but this is not an editorial. You know, I might be coming across editorially myself. The truth is, this report is an accumulation of many facts. If there aren't a lot of facts favorable to the pro-fireworks side, that's just the way it is. The pro-fireworks side consists of those who enjoy fireworks for whatever reason, and those who make money off the fireworks companies, the nonprofits, and the campaign contribution recipients. We all know who they are. Looks like I'm not going to have a time. I intended to read those again, but let's make it simple. It's everyone that's ever been on the Garden Grove City Council is getting money from these fireworks wholesalers for their campaigns, whether it be through their Janet Wynn or Van Tran, and the money sifting back $20,000 to Trung Nguyen, $10,000 to Andrew Doe, and Janet Wynn still getting money from the firework companies, and Van Tran still getting money from the fireworks companies, and you got money from the fireworks companies. I guess I'm out of time.
Thank you. Ellen Young.
Well, Council, I've been a long-time resident here in Garden Grove. We've got a little problem in our neighborhood, and it's graffiti. The Waterworks Way, if you know where the Waterworks project is over here, the 2-block walls that border that entryway, they continue to be graffitied. The removal of this graffiti they do a good job, the gentlemen that come out there and work on it. And just looking for a way to stop this graffiti, if there's any possible way. So I went online and was looking at Caltrans and see what way they try to take care of this graffiti problem. Graffiti is taken down by vegetation is a good way. Climbing ivy is the one that I saw that would be the most successful that would grow on those walls. We have a water source on both sides of that wall. Inside the compound there is a water supply that goes all the way around that feeds the trees that exist there. It would take along the both sides of Waterworks Way at the base of the block wall, it would take no more than a narrow trench would be needed to start this. Also, something that could help that would be a bright light and to help keep these taggers away. There is a telephone pole with power that runs right to it, and that pole is on Waterworks Way and Jerry Lane. So the power's there and the pole's there, so I don't see why we can't run a light to it. This is not too much to ask for, to put a canvas and eliminate the wall and illuminate at the same time. Besides this problem at Waterworks Way, these taggers have vandalized neighborhood Airstream trailer just about 2 weeks ago, and it cost over $2,000 in graffiti cleanup on that trailer. Also, the 2 stop signs were tagged on both sides of Waterworks Way, and that was actually at Jerry Lane and Aura, and it was at Oakwood and Jerry Lane. And these problems will continue until in Waterworks Way there until the walls are covered and lit up. Even signs could be put up, maybe on that telephone pole that I was talking about, that says that they're being videoed, might help. I do know that inside of the Waterworks there, they have audio and video that's on a sensor. If somebody's inside of there, it will tell them that they're being videoed, and they will have their picture taken. A feed could be run to the very first telephone pole right there at the Waterworks Way, the walls at the compound, inside the compound. And if something can be done like that, I'd sure appreciate it. It will keep the vandals away and protect our neighborhood a little bit. They come in for that wall, and I see no reason why we can't take care of those walls. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Charles Mitchell.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and staff. I had a very disturbing experience this week. I drove up to the shopping center at Chapman and Brookhurst because I planned to shop at the Smart and Final store there. They carry my favorite soft drink, which I can't seem to get anywhere else. And to my shock, it's closed. It's gone. I've been shopping there for quite some time. And then, in looking at the Orange County News, I see a big picture on the front page of how Stanton is celebrating a grand opening of Smart and Final at Catella and Knott. I guess that's where my Smart and Final went. And I wonder if there was anything that our city might have done to keep that business here. We're losing businesses all the time, and that is the heart and soul of our city, is having productive and successful businesses, and that's part of our tax base. So I'm just wondering what might have caused them to want to move out of our city and move to Stanton. Now, last Saturday, along with my partner, I spent 4 hours as a volunteer for code enforcement. And what we do is we drive around the city, follow up on reports. Now, we love our city. We want it to look good. There's a program right now to award the nicest looking homes. But they're starting a new program that they want to recognize the nicest looking businesses. Well, my wife attended a luncheon, and she told me about it, so we made a point of looking around for businesses that might fall into that criteria so we could make a recommendation. But we were pretty busy. We had a lot of reports to do. We finished our reports, but one of our responsibilities also is to help clean up our city. that means we drive around and we look for unauthorized signage. You've all seen it. Cardboard signs the size of that blackboard up there with spray paint on it saying yard sale or garage sale, hanging off of our telephone poles and our stop signs and every other place along our right-of-way. And it's our responsibility to remove those. And we are also instructed not to interact with the citizens to avoid confrontation. And we do that. We go along, we take care of what we need to take care of, because some of those signs, after the garage sale is over, are there for weeks and months until they rot off and you have old tape hung on the stop signs, you have everything else hanging off of the signs along our right-of-way. It makes the city look terrible. So we also try to clean off as much of that from old signs as we can. Now, as I said, we're not supposed to interact with the public, but I had to make an exception. There was one family that was running a garage sale, which they're entitled to do within a limit, a certain number of garage sales per year. I don't know if people are aware of that. There is a limit. Some people actually run them every week, and it's a business. But this particular one, they had very nice, top-quality signs that they had in the corner properties of a street adjacent to where their sale was. They had talked to the people who owned the property. They had asked if they could put the sign on their property. And, of course, we don't touch anything that's on private property. And I had to stop and tell the lady how thoughtful it was for her to make sure that she followed the rules on how to advertise a garage sale. And she said her son puts the signs up, and as soon as it's over, he takes them down. So they're not left to deteriorate and make the city look bad. So just a word to anyone who is interested in doing a garage sale. There are nice ways of doing it. Advertise your garage sale. Let people come, especially in these economic times. Our prized possessions sometimes are not as important as putting food on the table. So just try to do it in a tasteful manner and put your signs on private property with the permission of the property owners. And don't hang them all over the city right-of-way poles and signs. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll close oral communications, and I'll recess the council. We'll go to the agency.
Taylor, would you please call the roll?
Member Dalton?
Here.
Member Doe? Member Jones?
Here.
Vice Chair Wynn?
Here.
Chair Broadwater?
There. We've done public input. We've had a closed session. We have nothing to report from that closed session. Oral communications is done. We have consent items?
Yes, Mr. Chair, you have two items, and it's recommended that they be acted on simultaneously unless a separate discussion is requested by a member.
Entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Motion received, 4 yes
We
votes.
have no public hearings tonight. Items for consideration, none. Matters from agency members, anything?
None.
This time we'll close the agency until March the 10th, I think.
Okay, I'll reconvene the Garden Grove Sanitary District meeting, or I'll convene the meeting. Let the record show that all members were present with the exception of Councilman Doe. Okay, consent items.
Mr. President, you have two items, and again, it's recommended that these items be acted on simultaneously unless a separate discussion is requested.
Tuesday, March 10th at 6 p.m. in the City Council chambers. I'll reconvene the City Council meeting, and I'd like to go to consent items.
Mr. Mayor, you have items 4A through 4G, and it's recommended that these items be acted on simultaneously unless a separate discussion is requested by a member.
Okay, I'd like to pull 4A.
Move to balance.
Second.
Okay, motion second, call for the vote.
Motion received, 4 yes votes.
Okay, the reason I pulled 4A, it's a grant agreement. It's $100,000 that we got from the county. Supervisor Janet Wynn was heavily involved in this. But it's it's something that's going to be used for Atlantis Park. And I don't know how many of you here have ever been to Atlantis Park. It's at the extreme end of Garden Grove Park off Westminster by Bolsa Grande High School, by the new gymnasium, by the new dog park, all that area in there. And it's a wonderful, wonderful place. Every year, the council goes there around Christmas time, and they bring snow in, and the kids have a great time. The facility is available for renting for birthday parties and things like that, too. There's certain criteria, so you should check with Parks and Rec. But it's been there forever. I mean, I took my kids there when they were very young. And this is an opportunity now that we have some money that we can upgrade it and add a few things to it. Did you want to, Kim, comment on that?
No, I think that really covers it. It's a good opportunity for us. We're excited about the opportunity to just expand on the theme of Atlantis, and it'll be a really good addition to the park.
Good, thank you. Okay, I'll go ahead and move that we approve.
Second.
Motion and second, call for the vote.
Motion received, 4 yes votes.
Okay, public hearings.
Mr. Mayor, your first public hearing is the second hearing in a series required by HUD to consider the Neighborhood Stabilization Program, and Allison Mills is here to give you a staff report on this item.
Good evening, Council. Tonight, the item you have before you is a public hearing regarding the application for the Neighborhood Stabilization Program, or NSP. NSP funds are available through the California Department of Housing and Community Development and are designed to help address the high number of foreclosures. Applications for funding must be for a minimum threshold amount of $1 million. However, HCD will permit jurisdictions with allocations below the $1 million requirement to combine their allocations with that of a contiguous jurisdiction through a joint powers agreement or memorandum of understanding in order to meet or exceed the minimum threshold amount. Garden Grove's initial allocation was under the $1 million minimum threshold. In order to apply for NSP funds, staff began working with the City of Westminster to submit a joint application. On February 2, 2009, HCD announced that the funding formula for the NSP program was revised. Consequently, the City of Garden Grove is now eligible for a maximum award of $1,180,823, and the City of Westminster is now eligible for a maximum award of $340,641. Although Garden Grove's award now meets the minimum threshold requirement to apply singularly, we propose to honor the partnership we have begun with the City of Westminster. At the February 10th meeting, Council held the first of 2 public hearings to accept public comments regarding the appropriate design of the NSP program. At the close of the hearing, staff was instructed to return with a homebuyer program. The proposed homebuyer program includes the following provisions. The homebuyer program will be available to qualified home buyers whose household income does not exceed 120% of area median income. For example, a 4-person household could be eligible to apply if their income does not exceed $100,900. All program participants must attend an 8-hour HUD-approved homebuyer training course. The property must be in foreclosure and must be purchased at a discounted price of at least 5% below the appraised value of the home. Down payment assistance will be available in an amount up to $40,000. If the property is sold during the HUD-required affordability period, the city's original investment plus 3% simple interest per annum will become due. If the property is sold after the completion of the affordability period, the entire note shall be forgiven. The property purchase must be the buyer's principal place of residence, and the property must continuously be maintained in accordance with local and state codes. Subject to any revisions that result from this public hearing, staff proposes to apply for a total of $1,521,464 in federal NSP funds to fund a homebuyer program. Of this amount, the city would receive $1,180,827, and the City of Westminster would receive the balance of $340,641. If additional monies become available, the city will apply for the maximum amount available. Tonight you are asked to conduct a public hearing to accept comments regarding the city's application for the NSP program and authorize the city manager to execute all documents necessary for an application for NSP funding, including a joint powers agreement or memorandum of understanding with the City of Westminster. And this concludes my presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
Quick question: where does the provision come from that the price has to be at least 5% below the appraised value?
That was a requirement imposed by HUD.
So it has to meet that to get the money from HUD.
Well, in order to participate in the program,
Right,
yes. Mhm.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Okay, I'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on this matter? Charles Mitchell.
The proposal sounds like it's a great opportunity for some people to get into their first home, and I think that's a great idea, but I'm a bit troubled by one aspect of it. It seems that over the term of this proposal, as long as they don't sell the house, they're not subject to repaying the loan plus interest, which they may have to do if they sell it within that time frame. However, after that time frame has expired, the amount of money that is being fronted to them is forgiven. Well, I just wonder if that money could not be reobtained through a low percentage loan or some other means so that the money would be able to roll over and become available for continuing programs, because we can't be sure for how long funds are going to be coming from the federal government and for what purposes. So it seems to me that there ought to be another way of looking at that financing so that they can pay back the money that they got and someone else could have a chance to use it.
Okay, any other people that would like to respond? Okay, I'll close the public hearing.
I'll move the item.
Okay, a motion and a second, call for the vote.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
Okay, 5B, appeal.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, second public hearing is an appeal of a denial of a CUP by the Planning Commission. And Susan Emery is on her way in to give the staff report on this item.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. The item before you is an appeal of a conditional use permit for a new ABC license, a Type 41 license to serve beer and wine at an eating establishment. This restaurant is located at 10212 Westminster Avenue in a multi-tenant retail shopping center. The restaurant occupies an 1,800 square foot space and has been in that location since 2005. Other uses in the center include restaurants, medical offices, and retail-type tenants. This restaurant operates as a fine dining Vietnamese restaurant. Total seating for the restaurant is 53. Also, the restaurant operates from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week. In the application, the owner did not request to change the hours of operation. Because the restaurant is both located in a high crime district, the crime rate is 32% above the city average, and in an area with an undue concentration of alcohol licenses. There are 17 licenses in an area that can support 10. Staff was unable to provide a recommendation of support for this application. On January 15th, the Planning Commission voted to deny the conditional use permit due to the concerns about crime and the number of licenses in that district. This item is being brought to you as an appeal of the Planning Commission decision due to the concern that this case is a matter of public interest and should be heard by the City Council. Staff recommends that the City Council uphold the Planning Commission decision to deny conditional use permit 239-08, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Okay, any questions? Mr. Jones?
No, that's fine.
I'm sorry, I thought you, any other?
I just want to make a comment that, and it's written right here in the, they wrote it up, but just prior to the Planning Commission meeting, representative for the applicant submitted a letter requesting continuance of the matter. I appealed it for that reason alone. I just think that somebody wants to have some more time to work with whatever they're doing, that we ought to try to accommodate them. Maybe they're going to go away and never come back. But the anytime somebody asked for more time, I mean, we were either going to give it to them or not give it to them, but we certainly could give them more time to put their position together or whatever the reason was for the time. I just couldn't understand why we just didn't let them have the more time, go to another later meeting. And we could plan it for 2 months later or something, but it didn't happen.
Okay. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing.
One other, just quick question or kind of point of clarification. This actually went to Planning Commission twice, correct?
It went to Planning Commission. It was continued 3 times from September 4th to October 2nd, November 6th, and December 4th. And then at December 4th, the Planning Commission asked to get more information and have it come back to January 15th. And at the January 15th meeting, then the applicant again asked that it be continued, and the Planning Commission chose that night to hear it. So it's got a little bit of a history before the January 15th meeting.
Didn't they hear it in December?
They heard it first in December. They were considering approving it, so they asked staff to come back with a resolution for approval. So we prepared that, and then on the 15th, the applicant asked that the item be continued to a different night, and the Planning Commission called it up and heard it anyway. And at that time, then they voted to deny it.
Staff originally recommended approval?
Staff always recommended denial due to the high crime rate and the undue concentration.
I'm going to reserve my questions until after the public comments.
Okay.
Just another clarification that in December, it was heard in front of a full Planning Commission with a recommendation for staff to go back and prepare
A resolution of
possibility
approval.
a resolution of approval, and then in January it came back and one planning commissioner was missing, and there was only 6, correct?
Right, there were 6. Commissioner Nguyen wasn't present at that meeting.
Okay.
Maybe I missed something. It says at the request of the applicant, the case was continued 3 times to the October 2nd, November 6th, and December 4th meetings. What was the reasons for that?
I'm not sure the reason why. I don't know whether they even gave us one. They just kept requesting that an item be continued.
Okay. All right. Okay, I'll open the public hearing. Trung Duc Dung.
Okay, they're going to call your name.
Can I go first?
Sure.
Thanks.
I usually take the cards in the order. Do you have one with your name on it?
It's on its way up.
Okay.
I
All right.
didn't
Go ahead.
turn it in.
That's fine. Go ahead.
My name is Dennis DeSnow. I reside at 9971 South Briley Way in Villa Park. I'm here tonight on behalf of the restaurant owner and the property owner. Just to clarify, our application was actually approved by the Planning Commission that evening. They held a vote. It was 4 to 3, with direction to staff because of the way it was written. It was written in the negative. The noticing was written in the negative, so they had to go out and renotice. But we were approved that evening, but it had to be renoticed and come back. Since there was one member absent, we asked to be continued one more time, and it was denied. We believe this restaurant should be allowed to serve beer and wine for 4 basic reasons. One, this is a fine dining restaurant. If you can see the pictures of the establishment, we believe that beer and wine would enhance the experience that people would have at the restaurant. 2, we don't believe that this restaurant it will impact crime. Our clientele is mostly families. In fact, we encourage children to be there with their families, and we close at 9 o'clock. 3, these are difficult economic times. Being able to serve beer and wine will enhance the viability of the restaurant and have some spillover effect into the neighborhoods, which we think would be positive. And finally, we have significant community support. This has been noticed a total of 7 times between the ABC applications and what we have here tonight and the Planning Commission notices. During all of those notices, in all those hearings, there has been no community opposition to this restaurant at all. In fact, we have significant community support, some of whom are here tonight. We have some people who want to speak who have language issues, so we have a translator here as well. We ask you to allow this business to succeed. we're available for any questions, and we accept the conditions of approval as laid out by staff.
Okay. Now the gentleman that I called before you. Okay.
Yes, my name is Trong Dong, and I live on 15052 Eden Street and City Westminster, and I am the owner with Ngọc Quê Restaurant, and I have been my business in Garden about 3 years, and I be here for any question and accept for condition to approval.
Okay, is that all he wants to say? Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, Sun Nguyen.
Good evening, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Son Nguyen. I'm the owner of Rex Plaza, located 10212 Westminster. And first of all, I'd like to take the opportunity. Anytime I have the chance to stand here, I'd like to take opportunity to thank you so much for the city that helped me to develop. The first development was the Rex Plaza, that one. And I remember that time Mr. Postwater, Mr. Dalton was there. And I've been helped a lot from the city, especially with the planning department, Mr. Carl Hill. And after that, we've been successful to run that complex. However, recently we remodeled the property, Sydney Plaza, located on Garden Road, right in front of the J Catering. And I make the good appearance. We trim the tree and make the appearance. And also, we've been approved for another project on Incheon Plaza. It's in the Freeway 22 and Brookhurst. The reason I mentioned that because I really want to improve our property in Garden Grove because we love this city for two reasons. Number one, the Garden Grove to us is very, very attractive place to do business. The reason that we close to everywhere, compared with the Westminster and another city, we close to the freeway, we close to the Disneyland and the hotels and other attractions. And especially, this is a little sentimental to the Vietnamese because we feel that this is the best place in the county, in the nation, I can say in the world, because here we have a freedom. And the city of Garden Grove is one of the first city approved the yellow flag with the tree tribe, the symbol of freedom, and that thousands of American soldiers and Vietnamese soldiers side by side fought for and sacrificed for that. With respect for this case, I'm the owner of the property. Generally, the owner of the property, the landlord and the tenant have a conflict of interest. I want my shopping center to be clean and safe. I don't want the people littering or farming on the property and safety. However, in this particular case, I'm the witness. I've been there for 10 years. And my office is Suite 101, and my wife and I occupied the first Suite 101. And my son, Victor Nguyen, he's running the medical center there with the outpatient surgery center and medical office. And also we have another doctor. We are turning that shopping center is a professional medical building. So the only two left is the two restaurants. But this particular restaurant, I think, I need to come here to support him because personally I met Mr. Chong and his wife for the last 3 years, and they've been working so hard. They're working from, I don't know what time, get up late in the morning, but I know that they've been working so hard, and I want to make it. He told me that, he even told me that he want to attract more customer, and I want more people come to my center. With respect to the police department, my concern about the safety, but as a witness, I can tell them for the last 10 years we never have any problem with the center. And the reason is, number one, the building is very wide, 300 feet front, and at night is well lit. Also, we have 8 sophisticated camera. It can be controlled and monitored from everywhere in the world. Even at home, I can monitor my property. And the next door, I have a restaurant serving beer and wine, but most of the client, customer, senior citizen. With respect to this restaurant, and I told, I asked the owner, and he said that, and I know that they only serve added beer, because as you know that beer and wine as in Asian country, I mean the Asian like to have that, and Mr. Chong has the contracts agreement, I mean some deal with some travel agencies that bring tourists from other country, like in Vietnam, to here, and they like to have a beer added. So with respect to that, I strongly support Mr. Chong, and I promise to you that I will monitor, because the list that our center has almost 30 pages of list, and have many provisions that I can control that. And I think I would be on the side of the city. I will monitor the activity of that one. If something wrong, first I will report to the city, and also if that one is a cause of termination of the lease. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Jennifer Tran.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Tran, and I live on 11661 Landau Lane, City of Huntington Beach. I'm a customer of Nhà hàng Ngọc Huệ, which means Mr. Trong Dung, for approximately about 3 years. The restaurant is a nice and cozy place that I like to come and eat here at least 3 times per week. I like it very much that if they can serve beer or wine along with the food, that would be very nice to have. And that we can enjoy the food when we eating and take our time when we eat here. A lot of times I brought some American friends to this restaurant, but most of them prefer to have some liquor, beverage, or cocktail instead of soft drink. I would like very much to refer most of my friends to come to this restaurant with a new environment, that if they can grant it with the ABC license. I hope tonight that all of you would favor this motion and grant the owner, Mr. Trong Dung, an approval for an additional ABC BNY license in the city of Garden Grove. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Thai.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Thai. My occupation is realtor. I have lived in Orange County almost 30 years. My occupation is a realtor. That every day I tend to take my prospective buyers to Ngọc Huệ restaurant, invite them. Here have delicious food, but don't have beer and wine. In my opinion, I think Ngọc Huệ restaurant have alcohol license. Please, and please, thank you very much.
Thank you. Tu Phan.
They asked me to be
Sure, that's fine.
My name Tu Phan. I live 507 du lịch 127 zip code là 99704. Tôi từng đến nhà hàng Ngọc Huệ ăn. Nhà hàng Ngọc Huệ rất là đẹp, rất là sạch sẽ. Nhưng mà tiếc không có bia.
She said she lived on Euclid, and she says she always come to the Nhà hàng Ngọc Huệ restaurant, but she's regret that there's no beer or wine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to add one more thing. She thinks it's very beautiful and very clean.
Yeah.
Thank you.
She also said.
Tan Neem.
Hi, my name is Tan Yim. I reside at 14644 Plum Street, Westminster, 92683. I have been at that restaurant. They're very nice, and sometimes I take my coworker there, and after work, and we have some talking. And sometimes my friend like to have talk and have a few beer, and the restaurant. So sometimes we have to go to the other store, the other restaurant to talk. So I think the restaurant, the food delicious, and I would like to stay there longer. Don't have to go anywhere. So I would approve. I would appreciate if you guys can approve the license or whatever, so he can sell the beer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dong Tai.
Good evening, Honor. My name is Tai Dong. Living at 9481 West City West Madison Avenue, Westminster, CA 92683. I came the Ngọc Huệ restaurant long time ago, yeah. And sometimes I would like to eat, but they don't have a beer. Sometimes I want to drink the beer, but they don't sell that. I hope so you provide the license for him, and thank you.
Thank you. Danny Nguyen.
Good evening. My name is Danny Nguyen. I'm currently reside at 8200 Bosa Avenue. I've been a customer at Ngọc Huệ restaurant for a while, and I think the food selection is great. And I'm here to show my support and for the request for liquor license. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Questions?
I'd like to ask the chief of police, what about the high crime rate? I mean, it seems to me that a high crime area in Garden Grove may not be a high crime area in Norwalk or someplace like that. I just wondered, how high a crime is this high crime area?
Mayor, members of the council, the city is broken down into numerous crime districts. And each district is calculated, the number of crimes per district is calculated over a year's period. The year that the calculations were used here showed that this district was 32% above the average district in our city. As it compares to Norwalk, I don't know that I can answer that question. I will tell you this. To my knowledge, there have been no police responses to this business at all in recent memory. A recommendation from the police department comes based on the California Business Code that talks about necessity and also talks about overconcentration. And that's what guides our recommendations to the Planning Commission and to the Council. It is not a negative comment towards the business owner or the business in particular.
Matt, could we turn these pictures around so staff can see, so we can see them?
Sure.
Okay. Could you hold that bottom picture up, take a look at it? No, that doesn't really look like a two-fisted bar to me in any way, shape, or form. I've seen a few in my life, not lately, but I think that it looked like a very nice dining area and a very nice restaurant. And
Go ahead, Mr. Jones.
Sure. From a number of years on the Planning Commission, I've had a chance to review a number of CUPs for alcohol licenses of various sorts. Approved a number of them, denied a number of them, even revoked a fair number of them. And it's my assessment that the toughest challenge about any alcohol licenses is there's a few bad seeds that kind of screw it up for everybody. And once you get a bad seed in there that's taken a family restaurant and abused their privilege of having a license and converted it into a bar or worse, then it's hard to unwind that that entitlement that we've granted as a city. So that's the tough side of it. The flip side is you have to look at these things on a case-by-case basis, and it's unfair to punish good property owners and good business owners and good restaurant owners to be put in a position of being in an unfair position of not being able to compete with other neighboring businesses that have alcohol licenses. I've been to this restaurant, I've eaten it, and I can attest that the food is great, and I think that's the number one thing that matters to restaurant success or not. I think we've seen other ones that have come through that where the business wasn't working because the food probably wasn't good, and then they come in desperation looking for an alcohol license, and that's probably not the best set of circumstances. In this case, the restaurant is very, very clean. You could eat off the floors. It looks like the food is good. It's been in business for several years already, with no police activity. So it's a good business owner, a great property owner who has a number of properties in the city and clearly takes pride of ownership in the properties he owns, and has passion in working with his tenants and ensuring that his tenants are in compliance too. So I think it has all the makings for giving him a chance to let this run. In the conditions of approval, there's a condition that says it's got to come back and be reviewed in 6 months. There's another condition that gives the police, at their sole and absolute discretion, the right to impose that the restaurateur would have to hire a security guard to stand presence. And there's a lot of onerous conditions built in. So I feel pretty safe that we've got this one covered and would like to see this business stay there and thrive. So I'm supportive.
You know, when you were talking, it made me think of like criminal trials. Perhaps we should adjourn here and I'll go over there and eat, and then we can vote based on how good the food is. I'm just kidding. So that wasn't very funny.
I thought it was funny.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, go ahead. Do you have a comment, or if not, I'll make one. But
Go ahead.
okay, you know, I think that the closeness of the vote before, I think, says something by the Planning Commission. I think that, you know, there were some people that considered a lot of the variables, considered a lot of things that we've looked at in the past and still do look at as far as districts and crime counts and things like that. And I certainly I value the opinion of the Planning Commission. I would certainly never 100% go with them, nor 100% against them, because they're the same people as you see sitting up here. We're all trying to see what's best for the community, what's best for the residents, what's best for the city. I think there are some things that when you look at this restaurant, I could easily say, you know, I am concerned about the crime count, but I have a little uncertainty as far as how this would add to it and if it would. I really don't think it would. But when I say that, I want to say something that everybody understands. Anyone that wants a beer and wine license, if it's voted against by the Planning Commission, that certainly doesn't mean that if it comes to the City Council that they're going to receive it. I think it's like anything else. It has to be looked at on a one-on-one basis. We have some areas in the city that we're more concerned with than others, because if the potential isn't there, the actual acts take place, one or the other. And if you have 10 restaurants in a row and 10 liquor licenses, you're probably going to have trouble. First of all, it's going to do away with what you're saying is an unfair advantage that someone else may have. But the point is, it's like anything else. If you put too much in one area, it could have negative consequences and impacts. I'm leaning towards approving this because I think, in my mind, in looking at it and knowing, as Mr. Jones said, the gentleman who owns several properties in this city, he does take care of them. I mean, Zitney Plaza, I think, is that yours? You just were working on that. In fact, I hated to see him cover it up because they had the old livery stable signs when they took the fascia and everything off. All that was there. But he's truly doing things that are helping our community, not only providing jobs, but there are things that when you look at, you see someone does take, as Steve said, pride of ownership. And he does want to help the people. Naturally, I mean, let's face it, the benefit is good for you if your center is rented totally, and that's good. But it's also good for the city, and it's also good for the people that patronize. And again, I want to make it clear to anybody that's listening, this doesn't mean because I say yes, I think that this should be given. That does not mean if the next one comes in, I'm going to vote the same way, because I'm going to look based on its own merits, and I am going to take into consideration everything that the police department says too. So that's where I'm at on this.
I'll move we reverse the position of the Planning Commission.
Second.
May I?
Yes, please.
I appreciate that, and I apologize for interrupting here. Staff has wanted, knowing that it was possible that the Planning Commission be reversed, wanted to facilitate making sure that the City Council could take that action tonight. Therefore, staff has prepared a draft resolution which would grant the appeal and approve the project, and we'll provide that to you for your review, and then if you agree with that, then you would take action to act on that resolution.
We also received a yellow paper that was conditions of approval that we received tonight, and
Yeah, those.
I presume this would be subject to the conditions of approval as well.
Yes.
That's identical?
No.
No.
The resolution.
Councilmember Nguyen, just for clarification, these are the list
I
of
got it.
conditions. Okay.
Okay, are we ready? Go ahead, Mr. Broadwater.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we pass this resolution.
I'll second it.
So we have two motions?
Just one.
We
No,
dropped
just
the
one.
first
Oh, we've
motion.
dropped
Yeah,
the first one?
we dropped
Okay.
the first. Okay. All those in favor or opposed, whatever, just vote.
Motion received, 4 yes votes.
Okay. Let's see.
So thank you very much. Thank you so much, the city, to have my restaurant.
we're giving you a great responsibility.
Yes.
We're asking, we're demanding that you do everything that you promised to do and everything that will make this a greater city, okay?
Sure.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see, then I guess we just go to our few words of, you hurry, Bruce. Go ahead.
Well, Mr. Rodney, I don't remember what his last name.
Powell.
Powell, Mr. Powell, I do remember his name, said that we disrespect the grand jury. We disrespect two grand juries. I think Mr. Powell has the word disrespect and disagree mixed up. I mean, if we took a ad out in the Register and went na-na-na-na-na-na in it or something like that, that would be a little bit on the disrespectful side. But the truth of the matter is we just never answered it. And I think we have a right not to answer it. I don't know that I uphold completely the situation with fireworks, but I do believe that he's beaten up on this council, and he doesn't seem to discriminate against the ones that are for or against on the council. He just beats up on the whole council, and I don't think we disrespect anybody. We disagree, and that's what we're here for. We're here to take a position, and if that position disagrees with other people, so be it. So I just, it just seems to me that that's a lot of nonsense. Waterworks Way. Let's have somebody look at that. I think he had some great ideas tonight when he spoke. I like the light. I like the sensors. But the ivy will do fine, too. So let's try one or all or something. Let's get back with let's put that on a pink so we can get back with an answer on it and see what we're going to do with it. Make it happen. Smart and Final. We have absolutely nothing to do with Smart and Final leaving the city. We wouldn't want him to leave the city. But we don't control the rents where he was. That's privately owned property. And privately owned property, people, and it's a privately owned business, they have the ability to do what they want to do. You think we wouldn't have liked to have them go across the street and up the old Vons building and go in there? We'd have loved it. We don't have that ability. And every once in a while, we slip one on some other city, and we take something from some other city. You want to take a look at Boise Cascade out in the west side? It's grown twice now what it originally came here as. And Monterey Park's still crying about that. So, I mean, it does happen. Those things happen. And it works both ways. Anyway, I want to say happy birthday to Manny, Mrs. Jones, and we'll see you on the 10th.
Ms. Nguyen.
Thank you. I want to congratulate again, Rena, Spencer, Anthony, and Alma for their outstanding community performances and also the school performances. Again, I'm going to reiterate what Mr. Broadwater says. There's no disrespect for the grand jury. The grand jury doesn't decide just one issue of firework. They have many issues, and this council have taken the jury very seriously in deciding a lot of issues. And that's what it is. It's a recommendation, and the jury leaves it to the city to do what is needed and what is best for the city. And so far, our mayor has taken the time out to respond to the grand jury, if that wasn't noted already. As far as Atlantis Park and Jardín de los Niños Park, that's two exciting events that are going to happen in Garden Grove. And I think this year we put a lot of work, and staff has put a lot of work in trying to get grants for our parks and recreation centers. They did a wonderful job, and we want to thank the county for their donation, and also, for the grants. And also we want to thank the staff for getting the grant for the Jardín de los Niños. So look forward to April 2010 for Atlantis Park, and 2009 for Los Niños Park. For the Atlantis Park, I just want to let everyone know that I did my son's 4-year-old birthday party there, and it was a birthday that he can't forget. Even though he's now 6, he can't forget it. He remember being king of Atlantis, and that was a big deal for him to have that crown on him and sitting on the mermaid. That's I still have that picture, and it was a very reasonable birthday party, and it's just the right activities for the kids, and right for my pocket. That's all I have to say for a family who are on a budget. It's right for your pocket. And the next issue I want to go on to is Mr. Alan Young. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. We really want to work on graffiti, and thank you for all your suggestions. And I'm with Mr. Broadwater. We would like to see lights there. We'd like to see some work on that as soon as possible. Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
Just want to say a happy birthday to my lovely wife, Manavani, this Sunday coming up. Still 29. And also comment on the splash park at Atlantis. You know, a year or so ago, we were invited to a kid's birthday party at Miles Square Park at Fountain Valley, having no idea that they had this sort of splash thing in the center of that park. And my son, who was just barely walking at the time, just saw that thing, loved it, spent the whole day in it. There was probably 200 kids just going crazy in that fountain thing all day. And the one there is about as simple as just one pipe coming up out of the ground with a bunch of water chutes coming out of it. But man, talk about one simple thing that can just add life to the party for a bunch of kids, man. That was just it was a wonderful thing. So I came back and said, you know, we should look at doing some of those here in the city. And sure enough, Kim Hoy and team was already on top of it and was looking into doing that, had designs for that at Atlantis Park. So this goes back a while. I mean, our staff plans these things for a long time, finds the right locations for them, goes out and finds money for them, and does all these things. So kudos to staff for making this happen. I know we're actually looking at other locations to do this in the city. I know the Garden Grove Community Foundation has splash parks features as a one of their possible pet projects that they want to look at this year to put in different parks around the city. So I think they're the coolest thing ever. In any place where you get a park and a bunch of kids that go to it, this is just the great feature to add. So I'm super excited to see this happen.
Okay, I'd like to wish Manny a happy birthday. And now the fun thing about going last is, well, it's not necessarily fun because you have about 42 things you want to say, and 39 of them get said before you get an opportunity. But, you know, one thing, and I do want to really compliment the staff on, because, you know, the times right now are terrible. The economy is terrible. And we're not, you know, we were looking for mountains before, and we've brought some of those mountains to Garden Grove. And we still haven't lost sight of that, but now maybe there's only enough money for a few molehills, whether it's senior exercise equipment or a dog park or a splash park. There's some of these things that now we can set our sights on, and we're still making Garden Grove grow. We're still making it a better place, and I think we have to give kudos to the staff for that, because they come up with some great ideas. It's not always that hotel, although we like those when the economy is good. But in the meantime, there are other things that we can do that help the citizens of Garden Grove, too. They're low-cost or no-cost items, and it helps make their quality of life a little bit better, especially in the tough economic times that we're facing now. As Mr. Broadwater pointed out, you know, the grand jury, yes, I did respond to the grand jury, and I don't know if anybody caught what was said, but it's a grand jury recommendations. It's not grand jury mandates. It's things that we look at, and we have an opinion. You saw democracy at work tonight when somebody had voted against something that was appealed to the city council, and people have different opinions. Doesn't mean that any of us are wrong. We may vote one way for one reason or the other way for another reason. But the point is, we're all individuals. And, you know, if people come to the council meetings and talk about the fireworks, and that's fine. But, you know, you don't have a situation where everybody gets their way all of the time. It's unfortunate that some people are opposed. We agree 100% on the one thing. We all want illegal fireworks out of here. But this council chooses not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, to throw out legal fireworks and deprive the community, our people that enjoy having that. So, you know, that's I have no problem with anybody coming and speaking their mind. In fact, I encourage it. And I admire it, because there are a lot of people that sit at home and have an opinion, but they never express it in front of a camera or in front of people at city council meetings. A few days ago, they had a ceremony in Santa Ana at the Honor Plaza for Michael Mansour, and I went to it, and it was very touching. His mother was there, and I'm sure that most of you know he's the Medal of Honor winner from Garden Grove, who gave his life to save several of his fellow soldiers. And, well, it was a very touching turnout, and I'm glad that that we continue to remember to honor our heroes. And I think that's about it tonight, and we will adjourn till March 10th, 5:30 p.m. Thank you.